Well, hello
Because
there,
you
everybody.
right now,
Jacob Burton
Ira, I
here
have
from
you children and
StellaCulinary.com,
more.
and today we'll
You
be
have
discussing
to
how
have
to
one.
choose
Not
a
to
proper
worry, you
cooking
got
technique.
to
And a
replace.
question that I get
Because
quite
if I have
often
myself, you
is
got
how
to
do I know what
replace.
cooking
I
technique
have
to
a children.
use and
I'm
when?
sorry. Absolutely to
And
do
being
it like
able
that
to
here, Ira.
understand and answer this
I
question
don't
for
know,
yourself
but
is
I'm
extremely
sure it's
important
beautiful. I
because no
don't
matter how
think
well
so.
executed a
And I'm
given
sure
technique
it's
is, if you're
beautiful.
applying that technique
There's
to
a
the
beautiful
inappropriate
food.
product in the first place,
I
then you're
guess you
going to
like
get negative
anyone
results,
more.
no matter how good you are. So to
Never
understand
know.
first
I
how
like
to apply
anyone
cooking
more,
techniques or how
Ira.
to choose a cooking technique,
I'm sorry.
you must first
Actually, to do it,
understand
I'm
the
not happy to do it.
product. And fruits and vegetables are fairly straightforward. You
Because
can
you
watch our
like
whole
I
kitchen
remember.
prep
I'm
series. We have a
sorry,
lot of
but
different
actually,
video
90's
techniques on how to
available.
prep vegetables.
Just
But for the
do
most part,
wait.
you're peeling and
Wait,
blanching.
what?
It's not a big deal. What
No,
really
really.
throws people for a
I've never
loop is
actually
animal
answered.
anatomy. And here
Just
we have
do
a
it.
cow. And we're going to be
Don't let your
discussing
dreams
the
be
different
dreams.
cuts of the animal, just real
Have it tomorrow.
briefly,
No, I'm
just
afraid
enough
not.
to give us
I
a
have to do it.
foundation for choosing an
I guess.
appropriate cooking technique.
I
Because
think
when
I
you go to
prefer
the store, when
actually
you
to do it.
purchase a protein, when you purchase a
Roach.
piece of meat,
There's a
the
road
first
in
question that you
Arabic.
need to
There's
ask yourself
Arabic.
when
I
planning
got
to
to
apply a
Arabic.
cooking
You
method
got to replace.
is
I
this a
have your
tough
cow
cut
Arabic
or a
cooking.
tender
You
cut?
got my
And the answer to that
one
question
food
will
and drink.
dictate the final cooking
The
technique that you
drinks? I
apply.
have not like
So the
that.
tough cuts of
What?
meats come
You know
from
what?
the
I have
extremities
to
of
get
the
a Laurie.
animal. The
Well,
farther out
you
towards the
have
surface of the
all
animal
not for
that you
one day.
get,
Really?
generally
A
speaking,
fruit
the
and
more
a
tough
vegetable?
those cuts
A
are.
fruit?
So in the front
A
portion
fruit
here of the
and
animal, the cow,
vegetables?
you
Fruits
have the
and
chuck and the
vegetables?
brisket and the shank.
I
The
can't
chuck
even
is where you
really.
get things
I
like your
have to do
short
it.
rib
I
and your
have
pot
no
roast.
idea.
Very flavorful, but if cooked
Of course not.
improperly, can become extremely
I don't
chewy.
know.
Also, your
I
brisket, where of
haven't
course you're getting your
either.
barbecue
I haven't
brisket,
enjoyed
corned beef, your
fortune.
shank. If you
And
cross cut
now,
your
you
shank, you're
know
getting
where
osso
I
buco. Again, all
Well,
very
1990
flavorful
here,
cuts of meat,
everyone's more
but
actionable.
extremely tough if you
80s
don't
and
apply the proper
90s.
cooking technique.
Well,
Then you
the
have the middle
wolves and
section, or
lions here
the
come
belly
after
portion,
me.
and the belly portion is where you get bacon from a pig. In this case, the
you one
flank is
more
where you're
minute.
cutting things like
I
flank
have
steaks and
a lion.
skirt
Laurie,
steaks.
don't panic.
So this isn't
You're
a super
right,
tough
Ira.
region of the
Everyone is
animal,
stupid.
but it's not where you get your
Everyone
premium
is
tender
lying.
cuts either. It's
There's
somewhere
the
in
lions
between.
and the
Then you
coyotes.
have the rear of the animal, where
There's
the
a
round and
cameras
smaller
everywhere
shanks are.
you.
And
I
from that
often
round,
never
you can
one.
have the
There's
rump
a wolf
roast.
and coyotes.
But really, what a lot
Because
of people
you
are after when they're
went enough for
talking
one
about
day.
premium
Not enough.
steaks
Now
or
heavens are my
premium
cow.
cuts of beef
I
is this middle
understand.
section right here, this sweet spot.
I
And this is where you're going to
understand.
fabricate your
I
things
think
like your filet
everything
mignons and your New
Oh,
York and
Laurie,
your prime
it's
rib, your
not so
porterhouse,
bad.
your T-bone.
Well,
They all
everything
come
grow
from
all
this
over
area
the
of the
place.
animal and are
No, absolutely
all
not. Never,
considered
ever.
tender cuts of meat,
No,
with
you
some being
can't.
more tender
I
than
have
others, and the
never
most tender being the tenderloin
No, you
itself.
stop it.
And
You
you'll see
stop.
right in
You
front of the
won't
round,
either.
right, which is at the rear of the animal,
I
right in
can't
front of
do
the
it
round,
like that
below
either.
the sirloin and above the top sirloin is the
Wolf?
tenderloin.
Oh, man.
And the tenderloin is
I
prized for
can't
its
do.
tenderness among steak eaters because it's a very lazy muscle. It doesn't really do
guess.
much. It just kind of sits there
I think
isolated and
actually
protected
it
by
is.
all
No,
its exterior
I
muscles.
don't
Now, what
care
happens is
anymore.
the more
I don't
work a muscle
care.
has to do, like the
No,
legs,
I don't
like the
care
breast,
like
right?
either.
All these muscles are used to move the animal around and to give it mobility.
I
The
have
more,
nothing,
the
Laurie.
more
You
that
know
muscle
you
is
my
used, the more
friends here.
strength it
Stop.
must have, and the more
I have
structural
Hey,
integrity it
Laurie,
must have.
stop!
And that structural
How could you
integrity
like
comes
that
from
either? I
a
don't know.
connective
And I'm
tissue
sure
called
it's
collagen.
beautiful.
And
But I
this
don't know. You
collagen
like
is
my
what
fiber.
makes your meat super, super
You're
chewy.
from
But what
Africa.
happens is if you apply heat
Lion?
and time
You're from a
to
lion?
this
You
collagen,
stupid
collagen
children.
is really
Now
nothing
have her
more than a
stop it.
triple
You're
helix
everyone
of
here.
gelatin.
Oops,
So what
sorry. I
happens
think
is
you're
over
quietly.
time, when
I'm
the
sure it's
appropriate
just
heat is
actually a
applied,
coyote or wolf.
that collagen
You
unravels
stupid.
into its
Now have
three
it.
separate
You
strands
stupid
of gelatin,
kid.
making that piece of
You
meat that was once
stupid
super
kid.
tough and
Now
chewy,
having for an
now
answer is
tender.
no.
Now,
Please
what you
don't
want to
hurt.
do is
It's
take this
dangerous.
knowledge and
There's
apply it to your
emergency.
choice of cooking
No,
techniques.
I have no
And the way I
idea.
like to think of this is I like to
Well,
draw a
no,
square
good
with
on
four
you.
quadrants in it.
You're right. No,
And you really
Good
have two ways
afternoon.
of applying
There's a
heat or
charity.
temperature,
There's
and you also have
investigation.
two ways of
There's
applying time.
investigation.
So for applying heat, you can either
There's
apply moist heat
night.
or you can apply
There's a
dry
day.
heat. Now when applying
How
time,
many
you can
do
either
I
cook it
do?
slow or you can cook it fast.
I have
Pretty
to
simple,
do.
right? And so what happens is every
Just
single
do
cooking
it.
technique out there is going to
Don't let
fall
your
into one
dreams
of these
be
four
dreams.
quadrants. Any technique that falls
Excuse me.
into the
I
slow
think 7
quadrant,
years
and we
here,
have
8
two
years, and
slow
9 years
quadrants. We
here.
have the slow and moist and
Sexually.
slow and dry.
7 years
This
old
is going to be
right now,
reserved
but
for
we
tough cuts of meat,
after 2
right?
weeks?
And anything that falls
Oh
into the fast and moist or the fast and dry category. These are going to be your tender
10
cuts of meat.
seconds, eyeball.
So to put this into
20
perspective,
seconds.
let's start filling out these quadrants.
No,
Our
eyeball.
moist and slow contains
Looks
techniques
like
like
there's
braising,
80s and 90s and later
stewing,
7 plane.
and sous vide. And sous vide, you can is kind of its own
Let me
little
know.
magical technique
Let me
that
know,
we'll talk
actually.
a lot more about in the future.
What
Now,
you gonna do?
braising,
What
stewing, and
happens
sous
when
vide,
they're
and sous
here?
vide kind of breaks the
Here's the
rule because
year
you can pretty much
in
sous vide just about
2011 or
anything.
2012.
But braising and stewing in general, you're going
Whatever
to use these
2012
techniques for things like short ribs and corned beef, pork butt, lamb shank, ossobuco, all these tough cuts, and you're applying
well,
gentle,
I
moist
can
heat over a
Don't
long.
touch me right eyebrow.
It's breaking that collagen down, unraveling that triple helix of gelatin, and making that cut tender.
Stupid
Now, in the
dad.
dry and slow
Don't
quadrant,
touch my
we
eyebrow.
have things like roasting,
No, I'm
smoking, which is barbecue, right?
Look what everyone looks like.
Confit, which is
I'm
basically
so
just
sorry.
oil
Can I
poaching
be
or
woke?
poaching in fat. And the
Like,
cuts of
no,
meat that
you
you normally
can't.
would use these
This is
techniques
all
for are
you
things
like.
like leg of lamb,
Not
brisket, duck
disgusting.
confit,
You to do
just
it. I have to
barbecue
do
in
it.
general. I mean,
I'm
the
not
whole
sure it's
genre of
not
barbecue,
better.
for the most part, is taking
I'm sorry,
tough
what
cuts of meat
happened? Yeah.
and then
No,
applying
you don't
smoke
tell me why.
at a very
Doesn't
low
no.
temperature over a long period of time, again
Over.
breaking down that collagen and making
Got
that
you
tough
right
cut of meat
eyebrow.
tender and very
What do they
flavorful.
mean?
Now, in the fast
don't
and moist
give a-
category, you have boiling
Don't
and
give away my
simmering. And
hair.
boiling and simmering are usually reserved for things like vegetables, especially blanching or root vegetables. You're not going to be seeing a lot of people boil or simmer meats, and if they do, they're not really turning out that well. Steaming again is very fast-paced, moist cooking method, usually applied to shellfish, things like that. Anything that has a barrier.
No,
you want some
don't
sort of
touch
barrier when
me.
using
I
steam.
don't know.
If you apply the steam directly to
No,
meat,
I
for the
don't-
most part, it's
That's
not going to
animal.
cook that
I
evenly.
mean, got you right
And
place.
then you have poaching,
I'm sorry,
which
you
you
got
can
the
poach a
right
chicken
place,
breast, you
eyeball.
can poach a piece of fish, but because you're
I guess.
using water and because you're using a tender
I
cut of
think
meat,
you do. I'm
you're
not
still
have to
poaching
do
at
it.
a fairly relatively fast
Well,
pace.
I'm not
I mean,
gonna
poaching
do
a piece
it.
of fish
I'm
at
afraid not.
160, 180 degrees Fahrenheit
actually,
only
how do you
takes
do it?
4 to 5 minutes. So the kinds of
Can
cuts
you
that you would
really
use for a fast
Can you
and
wait
moist
for
cooking
school?
method
Of
are your
course.
vegetables, which you're going to boil,
There's
your
science here.
fish, which you can
haven't
poach
seen-
or steam,
You
and your
know,
chicken
one for
breast, which you can
science?
also
Of course.
poach and steam. And these are
There's
just
a
a few
world.
examples I'm throwing out here. Now, for the fast
think
and
you
dry
not
methods,
have
you
to
can use
do
roasting and
what?
baking, and these are
think
two
you're
different
gonna try.
techniques, but they're very commonly
concentrate.
interchanged, and we'll talk more about this in the future. Grilling, either over gas
lollipop.
or hot coals, is a great way to cook a tender cut of meat. Searing, I mean, think like an ahi steak or a piece of, or just a beautiful steak in general, searing at a high temperature. Also sauteing and stir frying in general, whether you're deep fat frying or you're pan frying, are great for tender cuts of meat. And broiling as well, and broiling is basically upside down grilling. And when you're applying these dry and fast cooking methods, you're going to apply generally the cuts of meat or various products such as fish. Again, vegetables are great grilled, great roasted, great sauteed. Poultry, you can roast or bake or grill. Steaks, you can broil, grill, all that good stuff. And then, of course, the loin, which the loin of the animal is the most tender region. So you're generally going to use a dry and fast cooking method like grilling, like searing, like sauteing for things like beef tenderloin, pork tenderloin, lamb loin chops, all that good stuff. Now, we will be talking a lot more about these individual cooking techniques in their own videos in the future, but this video was more just to sort of lay out the guide of how you would go about thinking about these cooking techniques and how you would actually choose them.
I don't think.
Now, if you're watching this video on the Stella Culinary website or through YouTube, you can click on any one of these video icons and be taken directly to that playlist, whether it be cooking techniques, food science, or the completed dish. And all these video series are also available in iTunes for your downloading pleasure. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube to make sure that you never miss a new video, which we release weekly. And just click on that subtle subscribe to Stella Culinary on YouTube button.
I actually had to do it.
We've released over 100 videos now, not to mention hours of audio lectures that can be found on
I can't
StellaCulinary.com.
wait to do it.
So
I'm
save
not
your
have
money.
to do it.
Culinary School is now free.